Moses was born, the Hebrews were slaves in Egypt. Pharaoh was afraid of them because he thought they might take over his country. He ordered that all Hebrew baby boys be killed at birth so that they would not grow up and fight against him. Moses' mother hid him in a basket on the Nile River to save his life. But it ended up that Pharaoh's daughter found Moses and adopted him. Moses grew up as an Egyptian prince, but he never forgot he was a Hebrew, and one day he went out and saw an Egyptian who was beating on a Hebrew slave. He killed the Egyptian and buried the body when he thought nobody was looking. The next day he saw two Hebrews arguing with each other, and one of them said to him,
"Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian?"
People knew that he had killed the Egyptian, so he became afraid and ran away. And then God talked to him through a burning bush and said,
I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, the Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt.
So Moses met up with his brother Aaron, and together they went back to Egypt. Back in Egypt, they demonstrated God's power by having Aaron throw his staff on the ground and it turned into a snake. They asked Pharaoh if he would let the Israelites go, but he said,
"No!"
So God sent plagues over Egypt. The first one was turning the Nile into blood, but Pharaoh still said,
"No!"
The next were frogs, then gnats, but the Pharaoh still said,
"No!"
Then came flies, a plague on the livestock, and boils.
I have boils.
But Pharaoh still replied,
"No!"
After that came hail, then locusts, followed by darkness. But Pharaoh still didn't want them to go. For the last plague, people needed to paint their doors with goat's blood so that their firstborn son would not be killed. Pharaoh's son died because of this plague, so he let them go. When they got to the Red Sea, Moses lifted his staff, and God parted the waters for them to cross. Then the Pharaoh changed his mind and said,
"Go chase after them!"
But the Egyptian army drowned in the waters that closed in on them. Moses was a hero to the Israelites. He brought down the 10 Commandments. He got them back to God when they started to worship false gods, and he led them all his life. There was once a man named Gideon, and he liked to play the trumpet. And one day an angel of the Lord appeared to him and said,
"You are chosen to save Israel."
Then Gideon said,
If I am the chosen one to this task, I should like a sign. I will put a fleece of wool upon the earth, and if the dew forms on the fleece, but not on the earth, I will know that it is indeed so.
Then the next morning the dew was on the fleece, but not on the earth. So Gideon put an army together, but God said it was too big, so he gave them a series of tests, and in the end only 300 remained. And after God told him what to do, Gideon was ready for the battle. Then, in all the confusion, the Midianite army killed each other, and Gideon was a hero. Israel wanted a king, so the prophet Samuel anointed Saul, but eventually Saul started to disobey God. So Samuel was told to go to Jesse's house, and one of his sons would be chosen to be the new king. Once Samuel was there, God told him it was David, the youngest, and he was anointed. Later, Israel went to war with the Philistines, but nobody wanted to go fight them because they had Goliath, a giant, on their side. So David got 5 rocks from a riverbed and went to fight Goliath. He shot the rock right into Goliath's head. And killed him. David started to become more popular than Saul, so Saul planned to kill him. Although he tried various times, he never could. Saul eventually was in a battle and killed himself to avoid being captured. David became king, and although he committed some horrible sins, he was still loved by the people and God. He ruled Israel for 40 years. Daniel lived in Babylon. He loved God and worked hard. King Darius put him in charge of the whole country because he trusted him so much. But other people who worked in the castle were jealous of him and tricked the king into signing a document which said that people could only worship him, and if they didn't, they'd be punished severely. Now Daniel worshipped God, so he couldn't obey the law. Therefore he was thrown into the lion's den. The king tried to get the law changed but couldn't, so they covered the den with a large rock. But an angel appeared to Daniel and shut the mouths of the lions so that they couldn't harm him. The next day the king ran over to the den and saw that Daniel was alive, so he got him out of the den and got rid of the men who tricked him.